You listen to Inside the Techosystem, a podcast where we bring you fun and insightful topics about tech and its ecosystem in Nigeria. I am Chuka, and I'm joined by Emmanuel. Hey, Emmanuel.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in.
So what have you been up to, man? It's been 2 weeks since our last episode. What's new with you? What's good?
I'm good, still living his life. Working on some project at my workplace. Burna Boy released a new album.
Why is a store?
I know, right?
Yeah.
The NBA matches too have been really interesting. I'm picking up a few new skills actually.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I'm not disclosing it because I have to be good at them before I start talking about it.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so in our last episode, we talked a little bit about tech communities and how they could really help someone who's just getting started in tech. And so this episode, we started to have a full conversation about these communities and some of the major roles that they play in the Techosystem. And if we're being honest, I doubt a lot of us would have gotten into tech if not for communities, or would have stayed in tech if not for the communities around us. So this is like an episode where we just, acknowledge the fact that communities are actually really, really important. And we are going to highlight some of the communities we think you should know about and probably you should join as well. All right.
Yeah.
So getting into it, first question would be, what does community mean to you? What's a community?
A community means the same thing or should mean the same thing to everyone. So a community is a group of people that have common interests or are pursuing the same interest. That's pretty much it.
That's actually the most simplistic explanation of communities I've ever heard.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. Communities are supposed to, but it's a good thing now. You should always learn how to simplify things. Communities are a group of people who have common interests, and I believe a community is supposed to offer support and hold you accountable. And the networking part of community is something that cannot be overstated because a lot of people can testify to probably getting jobs through communities and, getting better at their craft through communities. So definitely.
Yeah.
Second question would be, why did you join your first ever community? What do you think is the biggest reason? What motivated you to join your first ever community? And why do you think you're still a part of those communities if you still are anyways?
Okay. The first reason or the biggest reason why I joined my first community was just a matter of fueling what I already had. So I mentioned in the last episode that I was already learning how to program on my own or developing. And there was this conference. It was by community leaders in my school then. So it was just a matter of, you're doing this. Definitely you should try this. So I went for the conference knowing that, this conference is going to fuel my passion for tech. And it did exactly that. And the reason why I'm still in the communities I'm in is because I know the value that they bring. I appreciate the value that they bring.
Yeah. So what was the name of this community? Your first ever community, anyways.
My first ever community is Follow.
Yeah. Follow. Okay. All right. So for me, I think my biggest reason was, and I know this is shameless, but my biggest reason was, I think, the events. So the way they always share swags and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm naturally a social person. So I think the events was one of my biggest reasons for joining communities because you see all this, the pictures that they upload, you just these people had so much fun.
Right?
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, I need to be going for these events as well. So that was one of the biggest reasons I actually joined. And I'm not going to lie, I was actually very initially scared to join a community because I just feel like I didn't know enough to be amongst those group of people. But that's usually a wrong mindset because communities joining, at least for now, what I've noticed recently is communities actually encourage more beginners to even join because it serves as something like a guiding light to the career path in tech they are willing to pursue and all of that. So yeah, for me it was the events. Okay, so I guess we could talk a little bit about communities and their roles in the tech space. I mean, we all know how important communities are in tech space, but I feel like we should have a conversation where we kind of highlight some of the major roles they've actually played in the past few years, and so that everybody can see like how really important they are. So, Emmanuel,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the biggest role of communities, in my opinion, would be their network,
Mm.
the exposure, and the training. The mere exposure alone is very effective. Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of conferences I've gone for through
Mm-hmm.
communities, of course. I've learned a lot. Like
Mm.
I was exposed to new possibilities. So that helped my perspective in terms of my goals, in terms of what I wanted to pursue, right? And in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
kind of projects I would take on. So the exposure is really good. And then coupled with the network and then sometimes the trainings, those three things are really powerful.
Yeah. I actually totally agree with you on the exposure aspect, because if you just remain in your house, I mean, you may not even know that that you definitely will know what's happening outside. So like communities, I think they always tend to keep up with the latest trend in technology and what's really happening. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you. And I think a lot of Nigerian communities have really helped play their own roles in that exposure aspect. I don't is Concatenate supposed to be a community? I'm not sure at this point.
It's not really,
I
I
know it's
don't
a
think it's a
conference.
community. It's a
Yeah, it's a
conference.
conference, but Concatenate does an amazing job with that, because I mean international speakers and the topics are really, even though it's more tailored to developers. But yeah, Concatenate really does really great with that. And you notice people that organize Concatenate, they've had experience with other communities in the past.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about a few communities that come to mind when you hear communities. Like whenever the topic of communities are brought up in Nigerian ecosystem, we're
Yeah.
just going to talk about a few of our favorites. We can't cover every single one of them because there are a lot.
Yeah.
So we're just going to talk about a few of our favorites, what they do, what they've done, what they've been able to accomplish in the past, and why we really love them. All right, so Emmanuel, you want to go first?
Yeah. The first one, I think this is the first one for everyone. Follow
Definitely.
Africa.
Definitely.
Follow Africa is the biggest community in Nigerian ecosystem.
I
They've
think in Africa
achieved
too.
probably, yeah. They've
Yeah.
achieved amazing feat that no other community has. Like I think it started in 2017 or 2016, I'm not sure. But it grew very fast. It grew very quickly. They even branched out to different campuses and states. There was Follow Lagos, there was Follow Unilorin, there was Follow CU, there was Follow Abuja, Follow Morocco, there was Follow
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, like different
Mm-hmm.
places, right? And
Yeah.
these different branches, they were operating independently. So they were able to create conferences, like frequent conferences and trainings. And the amount of people that have benefited from Follow Up is a lot. I mean, I think Follow Up was the first ever community, I'm not sure, the first ever community for
Mm,
the Nigerian ecosystem. So it was the first time people
mm,
came together
um,
like that.
I'm not sure. I feel it was GDG.
GDG before Follow Up?
Yeah, I think it was GDG. I'm not sure. I'm not sure though,
Okay,
because
okay,
at the
okay.
last GDG event, I think they mentioned how they started years ago and all of that. I'm not sure at this point. Follow up
All
is
right. Well, we
pretty
can say
solid.
Follow Up is Nigerian made. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
yeah.
definitely.
Then there's Google Developers Group, which is GDG.
Mm-hmm.
GDG is Google's initiative to provide tech enthusiasts to learn new skills through workshops. GDG is very big also. GDG is
Very,
in all
very
states
big.
of Nigeria, like every single state, and they are really,
Mm-hmm.
really organized. Google funds most of the trainings, all the trainings actually. And through these trainings, people are getting exposed and getting new skills and sharpening their current skills. And there's Google DSC. It's similar to
Mm-hmm.
GDG, but for
For
students. So
students, yeah, yeah,
they've done a whole lot.
yeah. And shameless plug, yeah, I was part of DSC in school. Emmanuel, you too, Shay.
Yeah, I was actually my final year. Shout
Yeah.
out to all my community leaders and organizers.
All right. So you talked about developer communities. So I'm going to mention, I think, one that is more tailored to designers, Figma Africa, which I kind of learned recently that I think they're changing it to Friends of Figma. I think they're changing the name to Friends of Figma.
Oh, that's cool.
Friends of Figma, or Figma Africa, for those that don't know whether they've changed it or not, is a community made up of web designers, developers, graphic designers, marketers, illustrators. And I think Figma Africa has really done an amazing job recently because the amount of designers using Figma right now in Nigeria is totally
A whole
insane.
lot.
Yeah, it's a whole lot actually. In fact, I think sometimes I look at them like a cult group because when they're using Figma, they shit on other design software and design tools, and I don't just know. I don't know why they do that, but the amount of people using Figma is a whole lot. And I learned, I think the CEO was some years ago, was in Nigeria some years ago, and Figma Africa, Figma itself, they really try to sponsor and support a lot of communities in Nigeria. You could attend a community event and you hear, oh, this was sponsored by Figma and whatever, and GitHub, and. So if you're a designer, I think you should definitely check that out. Figma Africa or Friends of Figma, depending on what they are being called right now.
Yeah. And there's okay.
I think I have one more. I don't know if Dev Center likes to be referred to as a community anymore, but Dev Center right now Dev Center is actually an awesome place to find jobs. I don't just know if I don't just know if they're still termed the community, but I know
they can still call them a community.
Okay,
I think so.
All right. Okay. Then if that's so, then they are also a community where comprises of software developers, creatives, tech professionals, and DevCenter they've really done a great job, in my opinion, over the years. I mean, they keep reinventing and innovating things and ideas and whatnot, and I think I really commend their efforts. Yeah.
There is Laravel Nigeria. There is AI Saturdays.
Yeah.
Facebook developer circles.
Yeah.
There's Jamstack.
I think we should really talk about AI Saturdays because no one is really doing what AI Saturday is doing. Have you seen people from AI Saturdays before? I feel like they're one of the most passionate people in the community.
Actually, yeah. They're really passionate. They're just almost like Python Nigeria people.
Yeah.
Very organized and...
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to talk about Python Nigeria too. AI Saturdays, for those that don't know AI Saturdays, and I think it used to be called AI Saturday Lagos, but right now they are in a lot of other locations. They're in Ogun State, they're in Ilorin. It's a learning community that tries to promote artificial intelligence in Lagos. So they organize study groups around core fields like machine learning, computer vision, natural language processing, that's NLP. So if you feel like, oh, this web life is not for me, or mobile life or whatever, and you're thinking of going into artificial intelligence, you should definitely check out AI Saturdays. I think their study groups are really helpful. I think they're really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Python Nigeria, that was the first ever community I joined. I did not mention this earlier, but yeah, Python Nigeria they are totally awesome. And I think what really stands out for me is the community leaders. They've done a really great job leading the community over the years. They have this structure where they have a board, and everyone in that board, like, they know their part. They have a part to play, from chairperson to vice chairperson to IT director. And they usually have elections from time to time. So that's really cool. Do you have any other community in mind?
No. There are a lot more. Well, we can't mention.
Oh, there's one I learned about recently. This one is let me surprise you. This one is for gamers. For programmers that are looking to get into game development. So the name of the community is called Throne of Gamers, and we're going to put the links to all these communities in the show notes. Throne of Gamers is a community of gamers, developers, that's game developers, artists, innovators, and they organize a lot of community activities like game jams. I've actually been to one of the game jams, and let me just tell you this: game jams are like hackathons, but like for game devs.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
The first time I heard about it, I was shocked. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I know, right? It's usually very fun because you guys have to literally put down a lot of ideas as in together to build a game or to just start something. And it's really, really nice. And recently I heard they're partnering with Africa Comic Kid to organize a Pan-African game jam. I don't know where that's going to be held. Yeah, but I think I'll put a link down for anybody that's interested. So if you're a programmer and you're willing to try out game dev or you're looking to try out game dev, then I think that would be a great place to start.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about all these amazing things that communities have been doing recently and have done over the years. What would you say Nigerian communities need at the moment? Like, if you look across all these communities, there must be some kind of deficiency or something that you feel like it's really missing and you wish, could be fixed or incorporated.
Yeah. So far, in my experience and opinion, I think Nigerian communities have done a very good job. Like, a very good job. But there is definitely things that can be done to make it even better. I think the biggest challenge with communities is continuity. There are a lot of tech communities that started out great, but slowly died down and they're nowhere to be found today. To keep things going, like there needs to be a continuity plan and it involves some level of work. I think community organizers and leaders should always try to create this continuity plan such that when or if they grow weary of the work and they want to leave, there are people, a set of people that can take over from where they left. And obviously those people should be former active members. So you don't just bring new people that don't have any experience. So in an effort to keep the community running, there should always be this continuity plan. And then there are communities that already have this plan and already executing it, but some don't. And I think everyone should take this seriously because it really hurts the community members when community leaders just leave and then the community just disintegrates and no one talks about anything anymore. Really, not really a good thing.
You make a very valid point, actually. Continuity. I don't personally know any community that has this continuity, but I feel like you do.
There are plenty. Just go and check Meetup. Meetup.com and find them.
Okay. So we decided to give a shout out to community organizers and volunteers because we've been in that place before, we've been in that position before, and trust me when we say it is absolutely not easy. I have a few experiences where, in fact, I almost lost it. So for every single community organizer out there and volunteer, like you guys are doing a great job because standing for hours, delegating tasks for your other team members to work with, and having patience as a superpower because members in the community will always feel like they have access to you 24/7.
Yeah,
which is totally insane. So yeah,
I think community organizers, leaders, and volunteers are doing a lot of work. I salute them. I've been there and I'll always be happy to be there again if there's any chance.
It's
really
sure?
Tough. Yes, I will. It's very tough and rewarding at the same time. And organizing a single conference actually involves a lot of moving parts and it takes a team effort to pull it off successfully. The amount of sacrifices that people have made to make things happen is a lot. And I think everyone that has benefited from communities in one way or the other should be grateful because a lot of work has gone into that.
Well, what about the people that have benefited and just feel like, there's no reason for me to give back, right? Okay. There's some people that have that mindset. I don't know.
I don't know what to say to them, Sha.
All right, so let's have a little chat about the corporate world and communities. Like, how do you think these two can work together? How do you think the corporate world, as companies, how do you think they can leverage on creating communities for their own benefit?
Okay. I think this is a really important thing to talk about because for me, I think as much as community can be fun, it it should have a goal. And I think the goal is that they provide people with a good learning environment so that they can develop their skills and are able to enter the job market in quotes.
Mm,
The skills that they learn are supposed to help them with their business or career, whatever path they want to take. And this is
mm,
where the corporate world comes in. The community is supposed to serve as a form of pipeline for talent.
mm.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
I don't know. I don't know the specifics or how the whole thing should work, but I think there are a lot of communities already doing this. Andela used to do this when before they changed their business model. I
Mm.
know they had this program called ALC. I think
Yeah.
I did
Mandela Learning
ALC
Community.
2 or ALC 1. Those initiatives that these communities have come up with are really good for developing actual skills because it's not only about conferences because conferences give you the exposure, but there needs to be a form of follow up and consistent training, and that's
Yeah.
what these initiatives provide. And these are the ones that actually lead people to get real opportunities and you know use the skills that
Yeah.
they've built.
Yeah. I totally agree. Communities on campuses. This is actually one of the fun ones. I think communities on campuses are actually a really great idea. They're a great initiative because where else do you want to find this many people? I mean,
Yeah,
some federal universities, the population is just insane. So I think it's
that's
a
fair.
great initiative. But I also believe strongly that you need to know two things when you're trying to get a community on campus. Number one is how to get your students' attention or the students' attention. And number two is how to keep it because it's very easy to get students' attention and it's also very easy to lose it. There are like a million and one things trying to get the attention of a student. Like, I don't know, restaurants, parties, books, sports, and the like. So for this one, you really have to play it safe. You really have to have a solid plan to execute this.
Yeah. Communities on campuses are actually a really good initiative, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
They're a
Mm-hmm.
little different from normal communities because it's filled with students. The
Yeah.
organizers, the volunteers, everyone is a student.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings this good environment where everyone is almost on the same plane and the
Yeah.
relationship is easier to build that way. So it's
Yeah.
an advantage because there are more people willing to learn and
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes this can actually be funny because it's a way of escape from school's normal boring schedules. Like you don't want to be going to lectures every time. So imagine one of your friends asks you, "Where are you going to?" "Oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to this community." So that thing, it was actually a thing in my school then. In my school it was called CDC, and whenever we were going for our meetings, and someone asked me where I'm going, I'll be like, "I'm going for CDC meeting," and they will have this respect as if I'm going somewhere very very important. So there's that.
Yeah.
So with all these good stuff, there are obviously some downsides to it. Being a student
Mm-hmm.
and being a community organizer or volunteer, like you
Try,
said,
like
is really
trying
tough.
to focus.
It's tough. It's you have to balance a lot of things, and sometimes it can be really really discouraging because on one hand you have this schoolwork that you're not really sure or you don't really believe in, and then you have this other thing that you really love. But if you do it, it would affect your studies. But
Mm-hmm.
either ways, you just have to try and keep up and balance everything.
So how would you suggest, like, what tips would you give community organizers that are in school? How would you suggest they try and balance their work with the community and then their schoolwork as well?
So my advice will obviously be shallow because there are different types of schools. My own school was a bit chilled, like things were quite organized. So there were not so many things to worry about. But there are some other
Hmm.
schools where you worry about a lot of things. So my advice would just be that you should know that what you're getting into is not so easy and you should just, I don't know, it's going to be hard, but just remember you're doing something really good.
Yeah. And I think your work in the community could really speak a lot of good things about you in the future,
Yeah.
especially in the real world, because
Yeah.
it shows that you have the ability to manage people and lead people to
Yeah.
a greater cause.
So this period has been really tough for everyone. And we all know how COVID-19 has affected communities, has affected the whole world, not just communities. But tech communities thrive on meetings and physical interactions a lot. And this COVID-19 has prevented that. First of all, I'd like to sympathize with everyone. This period has been really tough, and I believe it will all be over and we'll all be back to our normal lives. So everyone putting in efforts to ensure everyone is safe and getting the world back on its feet. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job.
We love you so much.
Yeah. Most communities have gone online with their conferences and meetups.
Yeah.
It's kind of difficult, but there's no other option. So to keep up with these conferences, I think everyone should always be up to date, like stay online, check out the latest news from your community organizers, and just try to join live sessions. And if you by chance don't, if you miss some, you should try and rewatch them, because I think they usually record and upload on YouTube or other platforms. Then you should also try and donate or sponsor, or get your companies to sponsor the work of communities, because they really need it at this point, because going online involves a lot more financial commitment. And if they were not receiving funding before, I don't think anyone will just automatically have funds right now. So if you can, in any capacity, you should donate and sponsor. Yeah.
So I guess that's it for this episode. This episode was all about communities in the Techosystem and some of the major roles they have to play. I hope everyone listening actually learned a lot and learned how they can support communities and play their part as well. We release a new episode every other Wednesday, and you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or whatever platform you get your podcast. If you feel we did not mention some of your favorite communities, you could send us a DM or tweet at us at insidethetechos, or you could send us an email at insidethetechosystem@gmail.com. We'll leave the handles in the show notes. Thank you guys so much once again for joining us on this episode, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.